Minjin was a young man who loved the ocean. He had spent many years studying to become a marine biologist. Marine biologists are scientists who study the creatures that live in the sea. Minjin had always dreamed of going to other planets to learn about alien oceans. One day, he finally got his chance. He was chosen to travel to a faraway world called Aquaris to study the huge forests of kelp that grew in its seas. Kelp is a type of seaweed. On Earth, it grows in underwater forests near the shore. But on Aquaris, the kelp forests were much bigger. They stretched for miles and miles beneath the waves. Minjin was very excited as his spaceship approached Aquaris. He could see the blue oceans covering most of the planet's surface. He knew those oceans were full of strange and wonderful new kinds of kelp and sea life. When Minjin's ship landed, he was greeted by Soyoung, the woman in charge of the underwater research base. Soyoung was very friendly. She welcomed Minjin to Aquaris and showed him around the base. Even though Minjin was far from his home on Earth, he felt happy and comfortable on Aquaris right away. As he looked out the viewing windows of the base at the peaceful, waving kelp forests, he smiled. He couldn't wait to go outside and explore them. Soyoung noticed the excited look on Minjin's face. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said. "There's nowhere else like it in the galaxy, and we're the first ones who get to study it." Minjin nodded. "I can't believe I'm really here. I feel so lucky." "We're lucky to have you," said Soyoung. "I know you'll discover some incredible things about the kelp here." She handed Minjin a small underwater vehicle. It was round with windows all around the sides, like a bubble. "Take this sub out for a spin. Get your first look at the kelp forest up close," Soyoung said with a grin. "Just be sure to be back in time for dinner." Minjin climbed inside the sub, eager to begin exploring the alien seascape. As the airlock sealed shut behind him, he took a deep breath. Ready to dive into a new world full of wonders, he knew his undersea adventure on Aquaris was just beginning. As Minjin piloted his small submarine into the kelp forest, he was amazed by what he saw. The kelp plants were much bigger than any he had ever seen on Earth. They towered above him like skyscrapers, their long leaves waving gently in the underwater currents. Colorful alien fish darted in and out of the kelp fronds. Some had tentacles like jellyfish, while others glowed with bioluminescent light. Minjin had never imagined such strange and wonderful creatures could exist. As he explored deeper into the kelp forest, Minjin began to notice something unusual. The kelp itself was glowing softly, emitting patterns of light that pulsed and changed like a soothing light show. Minjin had read that some earth kelp could glow, but nothing like this. He parked his sub and put on his diving gear to take a closer look. As he swam among the giant kelp stalks, he felt strangely calm and peaceful. His worries seemed to drift away, replaced by a sense of tranquility. Minjin took out his scientific instruments and began taking measurements of the kelp. He discovered that in addition to the light patterns, the kelp was giving off gentle vibrations at a very low frequency. Humans couldn't hear sounds that low, but they could feel them. Fascinated, Minjin spent hours collecting data and samples from the kelp. As the light filtering down from the surface began to fade, he reluctantly returned to his submarine to head back to the research base. Back at the base, Minjin excitedly shared his findings with Soyoung and the other scientists. "The kelp seems to have an amazing calming effect," he told them, "and I think it's because of the light and sound vibrations it gives off." Soyoung was intrigued. "You know, there are a lot of humans back on Earth and other planets who have trouble sleeping," she said thoughtfully. "If this kelp could help them relax and fall asleep more easily." Minjin's eyes widened as he realized what Soyoung was suggesting. "You're right," he said. "This could be a huge breakthrough. We have to study this kelp more and figure out exactly how it works." He yawned suddenly, surprising himself. Soyoung laughed. "Looks like you got a good dose of those relaxing kelp vibrations," she teased. "Better get some rest so you're ready to dive into your research tomorrow." Minjin grinned sheepishly and headed off to his sleeping quarters. As he drifted off to sleep, he dreamed of the waving kelp and the soft, soothing glow of the alien sea. Over the next several weeks, Minjin devoted himself to studying the unique properties of aquarius kelp forests. He spent long hours underwater, observing the kelp and collecting samples for analysis. In the research base's laboratory, Minjin conducted experiments on the kelp specimens he had gathered. He measured the exact frequency and intensity of the vibrations emitted by the kelp. He also analyzed the chemical composition of the kelp to determine what might be causing its soothing bioluminescence. As Minjin worked, he found that simply being in the presence of the kelp helped him focus and remain calm, even when he was grappling with challenging scientific problems. He began taking short breaks to meditate among the waving fronds, allowing the kelp's gentle light and vibrations to clear his mind. Minjin's research soon caught the attention of other scientists on Aquarius. Soyoung introduced him to Juwu, a talented researcher who had come to the planet to study the effects of its environment on sleep. Juwu was fascinated by Minjin's findings and eager to collaborate. Together, Minjin and Juwu designed a series of experiments to test the kelp's effects on human sleep patterns. They recruited volunteers from among the research base's staff to spend time in the kelp forest before sleeping, then monitored their brain waves and vital signs overnight. The results were stunning. The volunteers who had been exposed to the kelp before sleep fell asleep more quickly, experienced more time in deep restorative sleep stages, and reported feeling more refreshed and alert upon waking. Minjin and Juwu were thrilled by this breakthrough. They realized that the kelp's properties could potentially offer a natural, non-pharmaceutical solution for the millions of people across the galaxy who struggled with sleep disorders and insomnia. However, they also knew that much work remained to be done. They would need to conduct more rigorous trials to confirm their initial findings and determine the optimal dose of kelp exposure. They would also need to assess any potential side effects or long-term impacts. As they dove into this new phase of research, Minjin and Juwu grew closer, united by their shared passion for scientific discovery and their wonder at the kelp forest's mysteries. They often worked late into the night, discussing their theories and analyzing data under the soft blue glow of the alien sea visible through the base's windows. Despite the challenges ahead, Minjin felt more excited and hopeful than ever. He sensed that he and Juwu were on the cusp of a discovery that could improve countless lives. With the soothing whisper of the kelp vibrations echoing in his mind, he pressed on with his work, determined to unlock the secrets of Aquarius' most precious resource. As Minjin and Juwu's research into the sleep-enhancing properties of Aquarius kelp forests progressed, word of their remarkable findings began to spread beyond the confines of the underwater research base. News of the discovery attracted the attention of Hanjin Interstellar, one of the galaxy's largest and most influential pharmaceutical corporations. Representatives from Hanjin Interstellar, led by the ambitious executive Hyunsu, soon arrived on Aquarius, eager to learn more about the research. In a meeting with Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung, Hyunsu outlined his company's proposal, a partnership to develop and commercialize a range of sleep aids derived from the kelp's unique properties. Hyunsu painted a picture of the vast potential market for such products, highlighting the billions of individuals across the galaxy who suffered from sleep disorders and could potentially benefit from the kelp's natural calming effects. He promised generous funding for further research in state-of-the-art facilities to support the development process. However, as Minjin and Juwu listened to Hyunsu's pitch, they couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. They worried that Hanjin Interstellar's primary motivation was profit, rather than a genuine desire to help those in need. They feared that the company might prioritize rapid commercialization over thorough testing and safety measures. Moreover, Minjin and Juwu had concerns about the potential ecological impact of large-scale kelp harvesting. They knew that the kelp forests were a delicate and vital part of Aquarius' marine ecosystem, home to countless unique species. They worried that excessive harvesting could disrupt the balance of this underwater environment. Soyoung shared Minjin and Juwu's reservations, As the director of the research base, she felt a deep sense of responsibility to protect Aquarius' natural wonders and to ensure that any research conducted on the planet prioritized sustainability and ecological stewardship. In a private meeting, Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung discussed their concerns and debated how to proceed. They acknowledged the potential benefits of partnering with Hanjin Interstellar, including access to resources that could accelerate their research and ultimately help more people. However, they also recognized the risks of aligning themselves with a company that might not share their values and priorities. As they grappled with this dilemma, Minjin found himself reflecting on the deeper implications of their discovery. He had always been drawn to the study of marine life by a sense of wonder and a desire to unravel the secrets of the underwater world. Now he realized that their research had the potential to make a real difference in people's lives, but only if it was conducted responsibly and ethically. After much discussion and soul-searching, Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung came to a decision. They would entertain Hanjin Interstellar's proposal, but only on their own terms. They would insist on strict guidelines for sustainable kelp harvesting, rigorous safety testing, and a commitment to prioritizing the well-being of both the kelp forests and the individuals who would ultimately benefit from their research. With a united front and a clear sense of purpose, Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung prepared to negotiate with Hyunsu and his team, determined to find a way forward that would allow them to continue their groundbreaking work while staying true to their values. The future of their research and of the countless lives it could touch hung in the balance. After extensive negotiations, Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung reached a cautious agreement with Hyunsu and Hanjin Interstellar. The pharmaceutical giant would provide funding and resources to support further research into the sleep-promoting properties of Aquarius' unique kelp, in exchange for the rights to develop and market resulting sleep aid products. However, the research team insisted on several key conditions to protect their values and the integrity of their work. First and foremost, they demanded strict ecological guidelines for any kelp harvesting. Hanjin Interstellar would be required to work closely with marine biologists to ensure that harvesting methods were sustainable and minimally disruptive to the delicate balance of the kelp forest ecosystem. The company would also be required to invest a portion of its profits into conservation efforts to protect and preserve Aquarius' marine environment. Second, the research team insisted on rigorous safety testing for any kelp-derived sleep products. They wanted to ensure that the natural compounds responsible for the kelp's calming effects were isolated and purified in a way that minimized the risk of side effects or long-term health consequences. Minjin and Juwu would oversee this testing process directly, with full transparency and the ability to halt development if any concerns arose. Finally, the researchers negotiated for a commitment from Hanjin Interstellar to make the resulting sleep aids accessible and affordable to those who needed them most. They didn't want their discovery to solely benefit the wealthy, but rather to have a meaningful impact on public health across the galaxy. With these conditions in place, work began on the next phase of the project. Minjin and Juwu led a team of scientists in developing sustainable kelp harvesting methods and refining their extraction and purification processes. They worked tirelessly to isolate the key compounds responsible for the kelp's sleep-enhancing effects, aiming to create a product that captured the benefits of the natural kelp while ensuring consistent quality and safety. As they delved deeper into the biochemistry of the kelp, Minjin and Juwu also made efforts to cultivate the kelp outside its natural habitat. They hoped that by growing the kelp under controlled conditions, they could reduce the impact of harvesting on the native kelp forests. This work required close collaboration with Soyoung and her team of marine ecologists, who provided guidance on recreating the optimal conditions for kelp growth. Progress was slow but steady, and after many months of intensive research and development, the team succeeded in creating a prototype sleep aid derived from the Aquarius kelp. Initial testing was promising, with trial participants reporting significant improvements in sleep quality and duration without any notable adverse effects. Hyunsu and Hanjin Interstellar were thrilled with these results, eager to move forward with larger-scale production and distribution. However, Minjin and Jiwu remained cautious, insisting on additional rounds of safety testing and ecological monitoring before giving their full approval. As the project moved closer to fruition, Minjin couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. He was proud of the work they had accomplished and the potential it held to help countless individuals across the galaxy. However, he also knew that the true test of their success would lie in how well they could uphold their core principles in the face of commercial pressures and the challenges of bringing a new product to market. With the weight of this responsibility on their shoulders, Minjin, Jiwu, and Soyoung forged ahead, determined to see their vision through to completion. The journey had been long and challenging, but their commitment to scientific integrity and the greater good remained unwavering. As Hanjin Interstellar ramped up production of the kelp-derived sleep aid, branded as Tranquil Tides, Minjin grew increasingly uneasy with the pace and scale of the operation. Despite the safeguards and conditions put in place during the initial agreement, he couldn't shake the feeling that the company was beginning to prioritize profits over the principles of sustainability and scientific integrity that had guided the research team's work. Minjin's concerns were further heightened when he discovered that Hyunsu had been pressuring the production team to streamline the kelp harvesting process, even if it meant cutting corners on the ecological guidelines they had established. Hyunsu argued that in order to meet the surging demand for tranquil tides, they needed to increase the efficiency of their operations, even if it came at the cost of a slightly greater impact on the kelp forests. Alarmed by this development, Minjin brought his concerns to Jiwu and Soyoung. Together, they reviewed the production data and realized that the current harvesting rates were already pushing the limits of what the kelp forests could sustain. If Hanjin Interstellar continued to prioritize growth over ecological balance, the consequences for Aquarius' marine environment could be devastating. Minjin and his colleagues attempted to raise these issues with Hyunsu and the Hanjin Interstellar leadership, but their concerns were largely dismissed. The company executives argued that the sleep aid's success was a testament to its effectiveness, and that any ecological impacts were a necessary trade-off for the greater good of helping millions of individuals across the galaxy achieve better sleep and well-being. Frustrated and disheartened by this response, Minjin, Jiwu, and Soyoung began to discuss alternative strategies for protecting the integrity of their work and the kelp forests that had become so central to their lives. They knew that challenging a powerful corporation like Hanjin Interstellar would be a daunting task, but they also felt a deep sense of responsibility to the marine ecosystem they had been studying and the principles that had driven their research from the start. As they grappled with this dilemma, Minjin found himself spending more and more time in the kelp forests, seeking solace and clarity in the gentle sway of the fronds and the soothing glow of the bioluminescence. He knew that the decisions they made in the coming weeks and months would have far-reaching implications, not just for their own work, but for the future of Aquarius and the countless lives touched by their discovery. Despite the challenges ahead, Minjin drew strength from his connection to the kelp and his unwavering belief in the importance of their work. He knew that he and his colleagues would need to be strategic and resolute in their efforts to hold Hanjin Interstellar accountable and protect the integrity of their research. As he watched a school of luminescent fish dart through the kelp forest, Minjin felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. He knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but he also knew that he was not alone in this fight. With Jiwu, Soyoung, and the power of scientific truth on their side, he believed that they could find a way to ensure that their discovery would be a force for good in the galaxy, rather than a source of ecological destruction and corporate greed. Determined to take action against Hanjin Interstellar's increasingly reckless practices, Minjin, Jiwu, and Soyoung began to gather evidence of the corporation's disregard for the ecological safeguards and sustainability measures they had previously agreed upon. They meticulously documented instances of overharvesting, damage to the kelp forests, and the company's lack of investment in conservation efforts. As they compiled their findings, the team reached out to trusted colleagues and environmental organizations, seeking support and guidance in their efforts to hold Hanjin Interstellar accountable. They knew that taking on a powerful corporation would require a strong network of allies and a carefully planned strategy. Minjin and his colleagues also began to explore alternative ways of sharing the benefits of their discovery with the galaxy without relying on Hanjin Interstellar's commercial infrastructure. They reached out to medical institutions, research foundations, and nonprofit organizations that shared their commitment to accessible and affordable healthcare. Through these discussions, they began to formulate a plan for a new model of distribution and production, one that prioritized sustainability, transparency, and equitable access. They envisioned a network of locally managed kelp farms and processing facilities, operated in partnership with indigenous communities on Aquarius and other water-rich planets. As they refined their vision and gathered support, Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung also prepared to confront Hanjin Interstellar directly. They compiled a comprehensive report detailing the company's violations and the potential long-term consequences of their actions, along with a proposal for a more sustainable and ethical path forward. When the day of the confrontation finally arrived, Minjin and his team were met with fierce resistance from Hyunsu and the Hanjin Interstellar leadership. The executives dismissed their concerns and evidence as baseless, accusing them of trying to undermine the company's success and progress. However, Minjin and his colleagues stood their ground, presenting their findings to the intergalactic media and regulatory authorities. They made a compelling case for the need to prioritize the health of Aquarius kelp forests and the long-term well-being of the individuals who relied on their discovery. As public pressure mounted and the evidence of Hanjin Interstellar's misconduct became impossible to ignore, the company began to face serious legal and financial consequences. Investigations were launched, and sanctions were imposed, forcing the corporation to reevaluate its practices and commit to meaningful change. Throughout this process, Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung worked tirelessly to build support for their alternative vision. They partnered with like-minded organizations and individuals across the galaxy, laying the groundwork for a new, more sustainable approach to sharing the benefits of their discovery. Though the road ahead was still long and uncertain, Minjin felt a sense of hope and purpose that he had not experienced since his early days on Aquarius. He knew that by staying true to their values and working together with their allies, they could create a future in which the wonders of the kelp forests could be shared with the galaxy in a way that upheld the principles of harmony, balance, and respect for all life. In the wake of their confrontation with Hanjin Interstellar and the subsequent investigations and sanctions, Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung worked diligently to establish their alternative approach to sharing the benefits of Aquarius sleep-enhancing kelp. They founded a non-profit organization, the Aquarius Kelp Alliance, aka, dedicated to promoting sustainable kelp cultivation and equitable access to the resulting sleep aids. The AKA partnered with indigenous communities on Aquarius and other water-rich planets, providing training, resources, and support for the establishment of locally managed kelp farms. These farms operated under strict ecological guidelines, ensuring that the kelp forests remained healthy and vibrant, while also providing economic opportunities for the communities involved. Minjin and his colleagues also collaborated with medical institutions and research foundations across the galaxy to develop safe, effective, and affordable sleep aids derived from the kelp. They prioritized transparency in their research and production processes, regularly sharing their findings and methodologies with the scientific community and the public at large. As the AKA's work gained recognition and support, Hanjin Interstellar found itself under increasing pressure to reform its practices. The company eventually agreed to collaborate with the AKA, sharing its resources and expertise to help scale up the sustainable kelp farming operations and distribute the resulting products more widely. Minjin, Juwu, and Soyoung remained committed to their vision, working tirelessly to navigate the challenges and complexities of building a galaxy-wide network of kelp farms and distribution channels. They knew that their journey was far from over, but they drew strength from the knowledge that their efforts were making a real difference in the lives of countless individuals across the stars. As Minjin looked out over the tranquil kelp forests of Aquarius, he reflected on the incredible journey that had brought him to this point. From his first dive into the alien waters to the battles against corporate greed and the establishment of a new model for sustainable, equitable resource sharing, he had learned so much about the power of curiosity, determination, and collaboration. He thought of the countless lives that had been touched by their discovery, the individuals who could now find rest and solace in the gentle embrace of the kelp's soothing properties. He thought of the communities that had been empowered to take control of their own resources and futures, and of the vital ecosystems that would now be protected and cherished for generations to come. Minjin knew that there would always be new challenges to face and new frontiers to explore, but he felt a profound sense of hope and purpose that would guide him forward. With Juwu, Soyoung, and the countless allies they had gathered along the way, he knew that they could continue to build a future in which the wonders of the universe could be shared in harmony, balance, and respect for all life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, and the kelp forests began to glow with their gentle bioluminescence, Minjin dove into the warm, welcoming waters, ready to embrace the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The story of the Aquarius kelp had only just begun, and he couldn't wait to see where it would lead them next.